The Monday, July 11th, 2022 regular meeting of the Paris City Council is hereby called to order at 5:30 p.m. For the purpose of this meeting, there is a quorum of the council present. Item number 2, Mr. Gene Anderson will deliver the invocation, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Hughes. Please rise.
May we pray? Heavenly Father, as always, we are thankful for all the provision that you make for us. I know each and every day, Father, we need you for everything. We literally can't take a step or a breath, Father, without your blessing upon us. And we just ask, Father, that would continue tonight as our council meets and makes decisions for the city, that you'd give them wisdom and guidance. And Father, watch over us and protect us and help us to prosper. For we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Item number 4 is presentation of the Mayor's Yard of the Month Awards. The certificates will be presented, and Ms. Julia Trigg Crawford, Chairman of the Keep Paris Beautiful Committee, will give a gift card from Home Depot for these loving gardeners in our community. And it's especially challenging when we have this kind of weather. I want to acknowledge all of the recipients for doing such a good job. And if it's in your district, would you please come down and get a photo with the winners, please? First one is, all of these are here. Trevor and Ashley Norwood and their assistant gardeners. And they are from the northeast quadrant of the city. Congratulations. Thank you. Hey, well, you've got one missing.
Yes, she has a cheer.
Okay.
You want to do that?
Oh. Well, come on, get in the picture.
Maybe it's behind.
Here, look this up.
Oh. Thank you all. All right, and from the northwest quadrant, Patricia Moore. It was a very hot day when we delivered her sign, and she invited us in under the air conditioning. Thank you so much, Ms. Moore. Here we go. Thank you.
Thank you. And
They're cousins. Oh, excuse me. And when we walked onto this property, it's like you're in a resort. And this is the southwest quadrant? Okay. And Mr. George Tabangora.
That'll buy you a plant or two there.
And he does all the work himself.
I've got 2 cameras here, so let me get the first one.
Thank you so much. And from the southeast quadrant is Mr. and Miss Jim and Sandy Lassiter.
Let's go. How you guys over there?
This last one.
Yeah, I went to the camera corner. on this over here?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Item B on the is the Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. Unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personal appeals, are not appropriate for Citizens Forum. If necessary, the City Council may convene into executive session under Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code regarding any item on this agenda. The public forum is now open. If there's anyone who wishes to address the council, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is James Belcher. I live at 444 5th Street Northeast in Paris, Texas. I want to talk for a minute about our city, the Parks Department, and garbage. On the corner of 5th and Tudor, we have a garbage can. The city pays for that can. Other citizens don't enjoy that right. That can's paid for out of duress by the Parks Department in the city. People can't call up and get a free trash can. Cheryl Rabb owns that corner, and she's been involved with law enforcement and executive positions for a very long time. Her dad did a lot for this community. His name was Clovis Graves. She's an executor of the estate. I pulled the wheel several years ago. You know, the problem with 5th and Tudor is garbage. People come down there and they want to leave their garbage and expect the city to clean it up. I know one 4th of July, Derek Hughes reached in his pocket to clean the mess up. You know, the loud music, that just goes by, it's over in a second. But the garbage seems to stay, you know. And people get wrote up for furniture that's supposed to be in the house, on their porch, or something in their driveway. How about let's writen up these properties for this beer cans and all other sorts of trash all the time, instead of some big items. And these property owners that are absent, let's make them subject to some of this code enforcement. Make them responsible for their property, instead of overworking the police department and everybody else. The Parks Department, I know she's had several opportunities to sell that property over the years, but she gets it taken care of by the city of Paris for free. And now I see our law enforcement having to spend more resources down there.
Mr. Belcher, your 2 minutes is up. I'll give you a few seconds to wrap up.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Belcher. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Seeing none, the Citizens Forum is now closed. Next item is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are approved by a single action of the council, with such approval applicable to all items appearing on the consent agenda. A council member may request any item to be removed from the consent agenda and considered as a separate item. Does any member wish to remove an item from the agenda for discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Item number 5, item number 9, Discuss and act on a resolution approving amendments to the Paris Economic Development Corporation's bylaws. Staff, is there a presentation, please? Ms. Hammond, Executive Director of the EDC.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Yes, Maureen Hammond with the Paris EDC, here to present amendment to the PEDC bylaws. I do not have a fancy presentation for you. What I thought I'd do is walk through the memo that accompanied the red line version of bylaws in your packets. Before we get started, I thought I'd give some background. About 2 years ago, actually, I started 2 years ago, and at that time, the board and I looked at several different goals and objectives we wanted to tackle in the years moving forward. Aside from our core economic development activities, we identified the need to look at some of our internal documents, guiding policies. Many of them had not been reviewed in over 5 years. Last year, Chairman Josh Bray appointed a policy review committee, and in that committee, we had 3 members agreed to serve on that committee, so Dr. Hashmi, Mark Homer, and Eric Roddy. And so I just want to thank Mark Homer for being here tonight. It is not the most fun committee to serve on, but it is absolutely an important one. So just want to take a minute to acknowledge the time they've spent looking at these documents. We did start with the bylaws because it is such an important guiding document for the organization. And so before these bylaws can go into effect, council does need to approve these. And so just to back up a little bit, the Policy Review Committee proposed amendments to the full EDC board. The EDC board accepted and approved these bylaws April 19th. And so we are here asking for your consideration and approval tonight. And with that, I thought I would run through the memo that I had sent, starting with, does that work for everyone? And if there are questions, I'm going to send all those questions to Mr. Homer. Starting with section 4.03, general duties of the board. You'll see we struck state law and actually inserted the Development Corporation Act of 1979, Type A, Economic Development Corporation. We operate under that specific state local government code. Any questions there? Okay. Moving on to number 7. Here you'll see we have struck February 1st to make that annual report to City Council and replace that with honor before March 1st. The rationale for that just gives us more time to compile year-end data and put it into presentation form, and also work with city staff on which date makes the most sense for us to present on. So moving to section 5.01, annual meeting. You'll see here we have struck June for the EDC to hold its annual meeting and move that to July. The rationale actually refers to a later change we are proposing related to the budget, and so it'll make more sense when we get to that. Section 5.02, regular meetings. The board shall meet once each month at we struck community room in the depot building. We actually meet in council chambers and have been for a while and intend to do so for the foreseeable future. Section 5.08, attendance. We have struck 3, let me go ahead and read it so it makes sense. This is talking about regular attendance of board meetings. 3 consecutive absences may be considered as grounds for removal from the board. So we have struck 3 consecutive absences along with or other such irregular meeting attendance. We're proposing to replace that with persistent absences after counseling of the board may be considered as grounds for removal from the board pursuant to section 4.11. That just gives the board more discretion when it comes to absences, and it also identifies a mechanism for removal by the insertion of pursuant to section 4.11. Section 8.03, budget. Here it's moving the months from submitting the budget to the EDC board in June to July, and from council from July to August. So essentially, that just gives us more time to prepare the budget. We did speak with Grayson and Jean to make sure that coincides with when the city needs our departmental budget for the city's budget, and that timeline seemed to work. It's hard to budget when you're only 6 months into your current fiscal year, so this just adds another 30 days, giving us more time to see what expenses we have coming up. So. And then Section 811, that is just a minor wording change. It does not change the meaning of the language. And I believe that wraps it up. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
I'd just like to clean up. I know we discussed some of these in the past, but it kind of sets a good time frame for things. And it was confusing in the past of when is the budget prepared? When does it come forth to council? This is a good cleanup, so I'm glad that you proposed these.
Good.
Thank you for your attention to details like bylaws. They're really important. And Mr. Homer, thank you and the committee you worked with.
Yes, this is all their work, and I have an incredible board, so.
Yeah. Any more questions? Any
Yeah.
other questions?
Yeah, on section 5.08, I know that you said it gave you it gave the board more discretion, but isn't it kind of open-ended, or?
It's no more, I don't think it's any more ambiguous than the language was before. I mean, if you read it, right, 3 consecutive absences, you could attend every other meeting,
Right.
And
Right.
miss 6. So, what are your thoughts? And I'm going to let Mark.
No, so this just allows the board more discretion to
Yeah,
take
so-
it case by case?
Absolutely. So, and you know this, I mean, serving and volunteering takes a lot of your time. And we don't want to penalize someone because it's hard to find good leaders to volunteer on council or the EDC board. So if it allows a board to look at those instances where there might be a family issue, a medical issue. That way you're not just 3 absences and you're out.
Okay.
So, does that make sense?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Other discussion? I'll hear a motion.
So moved.
I'll hear a second. Thank you. A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank
Item
you
number
for that.
10, discuss and act on a resolution suspending the August 1st, 2022 effective date of Encore Electric Delivery Company's requested rate change to permit the city time to study the request and to establish reasonable rates, approving cooperation with the steering committee of cities served by Encore to hire legal and consulting services and to negotiate with the company and direct any necessary litigation and appeals. Finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed is open to the public as required by law, requiring notice of this resolution to the company and legal counsel for the steering committee. Mr. Anderson, you have a presentation, please.
Yes, Mayor. Back in May, Encore filed a notice of their intent to raise their utility rates system-wide. In particular, I think I pointed out in my memo that residential customers would be impacted strongly, 11.2%, with what their average bill would go up. The rate increase will become effective automatically August the 1st, unless the City Council votes tonight to suspend that, which would give us 90 days to study the increase to see if there's anything that's unnecessary that's in that. After we've had time to do that, we will come back to the council, make a presentation of what was discovered, and make a recommendation for y'all to act upon.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Anderson? Hopefully we can, with the group of cities, how many cities?
About 125.
125 cities, that we will have a voice to avoid an increase to our citizens.
Mayor Portugal, I had a quick question. Mr. Anderson, has this been conducted before, this 90-day, I guess?
We have.
We've done it before, have
We
we?
typically do it because until they file it and we have time to study it, and, we really don't know if they have things in there that are inappropriate. And normally we do find things that, they agree to take out and ends up with some sort of reduction.
I will note for the record, we work with through United Way, we work with a lot of homes and tenants that, already have a tough time making ends meet. And so there is a utility program out there that, the United Way will incur some of the costs. It's a one-time in the lifetime to help that tenant or that household. But it is just a shame to see prices continuing to go up on so many things. And I know it's kind of across the market. I understand that. But I sure do pray that this 90-day study, along with the 125 cities, that we stick it to the man and figure out something to get some affordable rates. Any way we can help, I would love to help in that matter. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but whatever I can do to help, we're all here,
Right. We all pay electric bills, so we're all got a vested interest.
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion or questions of Mr. Anderson? I'll hear a motion.
I move that we approve the resolution suspending Encore's proposed rate increase for the 90 days in order to examine the validity of this request.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. All in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 6-0. Item number 11, discuss and act on the water contract with Paris Generation LP, known as PGen, and authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents. Mr. Anderson?
Okay. Paris Generation is one of several contract water customers that we have. Their contract periodically expires and needs to be renewed. So we worked with our water rate consultant, Chris Eckroot, which you all know. We reviewed the old contract, made some updates to it, and presented that to the company. They've already actually agreed to everything that we did in terms of an update to that. So we're bringing that back to the council. I noted in my memo some of the things that were in there. They'll continue to have an annual rate review as part of the rate study. We increased their reservation rate for the water that we guarantee that we will provide them if they need it. As an electrical provider, they have to be able to prove and document to the state that they have availability to a certain quantity of water. So we agree to guarantee that. They've never used that water and probably never will, but we charge them a fee in this contract just to reserve that because we can't sell it to somebody else if we're holding it for them. And so that rate was increased, plus there was an escalator clause so that it automatically goes up in the future for that. And they also agreed to pay for 25% of the rate study up to $10,000. So we think it's a good contract and recommend that y'all approve it.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion?
Is this within line on our I'm assuming is this backwater, or this is water that's been treated going back, or is this directly out of the plant?
Ask the question, I missed it.
So like this is for the coolers for the power plant, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay, so is this treated water out of the sewer plant, or is this treated water out of the freshwater plant?
It's treated water out of the water plant.
So it's coming fresh water out of Pat Mason?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'll hear a motion.
I move that we approve the water contract with PGen and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement for the city of Paris.
All right, a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Item number 12, discuss and act on an ordinance amending Article 4.03, Substandard and Dangerous Buildings and Structures of the Code of Ordinances, Building and Building Regulations, to authorize a salvage program for substandard structures. Mr. Vine.
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, I'm excited to bring this amendment proposal to you this evening. City of Paris currently has over 100 homes within the city on a list to be demolished. The list consists of houses that have burned either partially or completely, houses that pose a health and safety risk and are unsafe structures. Traditionally, when the city demolishes a house or a structure, all of that building material then goes into a dumpster that ends up in a landfill. The city pays a tipping fee for all these dumpsters, and the cost is calculated by the ton. The dumpsters with the remnants of the houses are emptied into a landfill and eventually covered with more refuse and earth. While the city initially pays for the demolition of the houses, the property owner is responsible for the cost, and the demolition lien is placed on the property. If the lien is not paid, the city does not recoup the initial cost of the demolition. Reducing the demolition waste, which is what this program will do, from some structures that would otherwise go to landfills, can save the city from paying higher landfill tipping fees. Less money spent on landfill tipping fees will allow budgeted funds to demolish more homes throughout the city that are on the list and speed up the process of creating housing infill. With, again, the large amount of houses on this list and the limited funds dedicated for this purpose, a combination of a deconstruction and traditional demolition program seems to be a viable option for the city. There are cities such as San Antonio, Pittsburgh, and Portland that are obviously much bigger, and we've been talking to at least San Antonio. We're recommending a hybrid of a program that they have. A deconstruction program allows for a contractor to remove building materials prior to demolition, and it provides the following benefits. It reduces the overall cost of building removals and demolitions, removes the overall amount of the abatement lien on the property, provides lower cost building materials to the community. It can be recycled and reused. It extends the life of landfills, provides natural environment by protects the natural environment by reducing the need for the extraction of new resources, cutting down new trees, a potential for job creation and economic development. The city plans to engage professional contractors that meet insurance and program requirements to engage in the process of deconstruction on these selected homes that are on the demolition list. Not all will match. Some will be great candidates, I think. These contractors will remove any desired building materials in a strategic and safe manner in accordance with an approved plan. The contractor will then weigh the removed materials, so staff will be able to determine the amount of cost savings as well as how much material did not end up in a landfill. How this will affect the budget: a deconstruction program will reduce expenses associated with traditional building demolition and is projected to allow the budgeted funds for demolition to be stretched further. And contractors will also be required to obtain a permit prior to deconstruction, and this permit fee will be nominal, but it will cover the administrative efforts necessary to oversee the program. And the recommendation of staff is to adopt the ordinance as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Vine. Questions or discussion?
I had a couple questions. I
Yes.
was just curious. I'm trying to understand the process a little bit better.
Yes, sir.
And I know, obviously, you need to do the study to understand the savings. Approximately, how much are you anticipating on the savings if we go through this process?
That will depend on the house, and not to be sketchy, but a house that's been burned, we won't salvage, probably very little.
Right.
On a house that's in relatively decent shape, one of the contractors I talked to, he could come in, if there's a 1,500 square foot house, in 6 hours, they could remove 30 to 40% of the house.
Got you.
So, and right now, we're paying $19.35 per ton. An average 2,500, a 1,500 square foot house weighs 102.5 tons. So there's a considerable savings to be had.
Fantastic. I just have two more questions.
Yes, sir.
Approximately, I know you said there's about 100 houses on the roll there.
Yes, sir.
What is the anticipated time frame that you would see us getting to zero or close to that number?
I don't have a time frame, but I can tell you this particular contract I was talking to, for a 1,500 square foot home, it would take them about 6 hours to deconstruct. If they started deconstructing at 8 in the morning, they're done at, say, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We put the house on the ground so it's safe, so no kids go in and play in an unsafe environment. So with that, and I think as we move along, the process will speed up even further. So to answer your question, I don't have a specific date, but hopefully sooner rather than later.
Sure.
And I think this program would help us get to that point. sooner rather than later.
Perfect. And then the last question I had was, obviously with some of these savings that you would get, you can do more, right? In terms of time and funds. I know it's kind of a vague, it's hard to anticipate this, but do you know approximately how many houses you could potentially see done in a year? Would this free up a lot more time, or you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to understand and put a number around it.
Yes, sir. I think to be conservative, I think we could probably do maybe 20 to 25% more houses in the first year.
That's substantial. Okay.
Again,
I appreciate that.
we've not engaged in this yet, so that I would say that's a guess.
Well, I'll say this. I mean,
But that would be a
just-
goal.
Just by reading this and kind of understanding the process, it sounds like you guys are really trying to make some moves here to save money and to make it a little bit easier for the process to demo. So I do appreciate that. That's pretty commendable.
And also, as an ex-carpenter, I hate to see good material being thrown in the landfill. I hate to see that when other people could use it.
Especially with the prices.
Yes, absolutely.
I would love to see us partner with Habitat for Humanity.
I have talked to them. We are in talk. They do have a warehouse. They would be limited as to far as what they could do, just because of volunteerism. But they do have a warehouse, so we are in talks with them and also with local contractors.
Thank you
So
for
we will
that.
see. Yes.
I think maybe architectural details, there could be hardwood that might not even be available now. So, any more questions or discussion?
Yes, last week, we had a tax sale or whatever you call it. Some of the houses in that tax sale fit this criteria as well, right? Some of them had been burned a little bit or whatever. So these houses, are in your thinking, would it be after the tax sale? If they didn't sell, then you would come up and reach out to these contractors, or how would that process work?
I have to defer to the city attorney, but I would think that would be prior to. Would I be correct in that?
This would only apply to structures that have gone before the Building and Standards Commission and have demolition orders on them, final demolition orders. The relationship between the BSC and the tax sales, kind of one doesn't talk to the other necessarily. So there may not be anything that was on the county's tax sale that this would apply to. It just depends. It's a function of the Building Standards Commission and not the tax sales.
Okay, yeah, because, I'm trying to understand all that too, which one, or do they work together? It's kind of confusing, and I'm sure it's confusing to most citizens, but, so what criteria would put these on the demolitions? What would have to happen to put these on the demolitions list?
There are criteria by which the commission evaluates a house. What will happen is the city staff will bring those structures in front of the commission for consideration. Some are not so dilapidated as to require demolition, and those structures typically get repair orders. The situation with the repair order is trying to keep something from getting to the point where it needs to be demolished, and otherwise improving the property in the neighborhood. So, if it is unable to be reasonably repaired, and that kind of is, you take into account people's resources and, some person may have the resources to salvage something that is a regular person couldn't do. If it can't reasonably be repaired, then the commission can order it demolished.
Yeah, so that led to my next question, the average Joe. So will these only be offered to contractors I know in the memorandum it said contractors with license and insurance and all that. So if a Gary Savage that meet that criteria, I'm not necessarily a contractor, but if I met the criteria, how would I know about these? It said you would reach out to contractors, so how would I know about these sales?
Once we further develop the plan, and what this amendment is to get us to the point where we can further develop this deconstruction plan, the plan is to reach out to the contractors or the individuals, and you would then go to the house and then present a plan. This is how I plan to deconstruct this house and do it safely.
Yeah, I mean.
Without that plan, and anybody can do that.
Right, but how would you put that, how do you plan to put it out there to contractors? See, you said contractors, so would you just
Right.
reach out to local contractors that you know?
Advertise.
Or would you, but you do have individuals that would probably be interested in something like this that could meet that criteria. So how would we put it out there, is what I'm saying, a fair
We can
process.
advertise through social media, we can advertise through the paper and the radio.
Yeah, that's what I was
And-
concerned about, a fair process
Yes,
of
yes.
advertising for qualified people.
One of the main things, obviously, again, we want to be consistent and fair, but we also want it to be safe, because
Exactly.
some of these homes, a lot of these homes are in neighborhoods, and kids may want to go in and play, and we would like to be able to deconstruct the home in the morning, level it in the afternoon, so we don't leave it standing and have somebody go in there that create an unsafe environment. So
Thank you.
we want it, whoever does it, be it an individual or a contractor, we want them to know that they can do it right and do it safely.
And the draft ordinance merely authorizes the city to engage a contractor. Can you hear me? Did you hear what I said? Okay. It authorizes the city to engage a contractor. It doesn't require that a contractor be used for that. If it's possible at some point, I suppose, that if city was staffed up enough, the city could actually engage in those activities itself, but that seems unlikely at this time with staffing levels. But there's room for that in the ordinance. It's not so specific that it's limited to one thing, and it's certainly not limited to any particular contractor.
Thank you.
I also love the idea that it saves us money and extends the life of the landfill, because I've lived in a community that you run out of landfill, you've got to get a new landfill permitted, and TCEQ is very picky about that, and so are neighbors to your property, so we want to make the life of that landfill last a long time. Any other questions? I'll hear a motion.
Make a motion to amend the ordinance as presented.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Item number 13, discuss and act on a resolution approving an interlocal agreement with North Lamar ISD related to a collector street in the new elementary school development. Mr. Path?
Yes, as the city council is aware, we're working with North Lamar ISD as they've been going through the process of developing a new elementary school up on the property north of their current campus. And so they brought to us back in April 25th a plat for this purpose. We dedicated a 60-foot new right-of-way in that along the property there. So a part of our master thoroughfare plan, there would be a collector-sized street going along the northern edge of that property. So as part of this arrangement, we have agreed to upsize their 24-foot road requirement that they need for their purposes to a 39-foot collector street. So to do this, we have formed an interlocal agreement to where we will pay for the upsized costs. They have bid the process out. They're working with HWH locally to oversee the construction of this project. Working with our engineering firm, Hayter Engineering, the contracting engineer for the city, they have reviewed the cost and determined that the price of $162,079.71 is a fair and accurate upsize cost to go from 24-foot to 39-foot. Therefore, you have in front of you tonight an interlocal agreement to accomplish that. We have agreed with them to reduce some minimal reduction of some landscaping requirements, as well as our codes typically require when you develop a road to put sidewalks on both sides of the road. Given the negotiations and given the lay of the land and the development, we are agreeing to develop a sidewalk on one side, which is the school side of the project for now, and that will be phased in once TxDOT does their future sidewalk project along North Main. So those are all part of the negotiations, and so tonight we recommend approval of the interlocal agreement with North Lamar ISD.
Thank you, Mr. Path. Any questions or discussion?
Mr. Path, I'll say I really do appreciate reading the information that, the city was willing to help, make some concessions on certain things and to kind of meet the party halfway with the school district. That's also commendable. I appreciate that. I know a lot of times that, folks in the community will say, well, the city's not willing to work with with developers. Well, you clearly are, and so I do appreciate that, and I just wanted to state that for the record. I try to do that from time to time, but just seeing that made sense, and I really appreciate that, so.
Any further questions or discussion? All right, I'll hear a motion, please.
I move that we authorize the city manager to sign the interlocal agreement with NLISD for the joint construction of a collector street.
Thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Item number 14, convene into executive session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. Consultation with attorney to receive legal advice from the city attorney about 1, pending or contemplated litigation, and/or 2, on matters in which the duty of an attorney to her client under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflict with this chapter, to wit, Houchins versus City of Paris. The time is 6:10 p.m., and the City Council will now convene into executive session. Item number 15, reconvene into open session and possibly act on matters discussed in executive session. The time is 6:30 p.m., and the City Council is now in open session. No action was taken. Item number 16, consider and approve future events for City Council and/or city staff pursuant to Resolution number 2004-081. Does anyone have anything?
No, ma'am.
No items.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, I accept it. A second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.